Hello and welcome to our 7th supply showcase here at Heaton House Farm. Hope you've been enjoying them all so far. They've been really interesting and I have certainly learned an awful lot about our suppliers. I thought I knew it all, clearly I don't. Today is actually one that I'm particularly excited about. If you've ever met me, you will know that I love cake. So I'm very excited to bring on Linda from Buttercup Cakes.
Hi.
Hi Linda, how are you?
Hey Sarah, I'm fine, thanks.
Good. So you actually have a nickname here at Heaton House Farm, and because we obviously it's a husband and wife team. Your husband is the big time delivery driver. You're often busy in your studio slaving away, but you have a very affectionate name here at Heaton House Farm, and you are Mr. and Mrs. Buttercup.
I know.
We always love to see Mr. and Mrs. Buttercup because generally you bring us some yummy treats.
Well, you deserve it, don't you?
Thank you. We like to think so. But so obviously it's pretty obvious what you do. You've got a great background there with all your beautiful cakes on display, but just give us a bit of an insight and tell us about you and how you started up Buttercup Cakes.
Right, well, I think I've baked all my life practically, right from being a little girl. And then 10 years ago, 2010, I started up Buttercup Cakes as a proper business. Started from home, and then 7 years ago we moved into our studio in Whaley Bridge, and we've just gone from strength to strength. And we really specialise in wedding cakes. I do celebration cakes as well, but particularly wedding cakes, and that's where my passion is really. I just absolutely love working with couples and making wedding cakes.
Absolutely, and you're very good at it too.
Oh, thank you.
So obviously you've been quite busy during lockdown. So what have you been up to?
Right, well, everybody else seems to be gardening, and they've got these fantastic tans because they've been doing all kinds of things. But we actually sort of managed to diversify a little bit, and we've been doing online brownies and cake jars, which is a little bit removed from our normal business. But hey ho, we've all got to kind of get through these tough times at the moment. So that's been working quite well. But we have still been busy. So
I'm very pleased to say that I've actually received a box of these brownies, and they just came at the right time. They were just like a little ray of sunshine. They were absolutely beautiful. So thank you very much. They were very well enjoyed that day. Yeah,
somebody described them as a hug in a box, so which is quite nice, isn't it? Really. So yeah, we've had so much support. It's been amazing. Actually, been great. But we've still been busy, dealing with couples, taking inquiries, doing consultations. So we've still been kind of ticking over with that, and lots of planning and preparation for when weddings actually happen. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely, because obviously the cake is an integral part of the wedding day. So it's a big showcase, a big feature. So, but we'll come on to it in a little while, because we've also heard that you do virtual cake tastings as well. So we'll come on to that a little while. So how do the couples sort of contact you? What's the process? Tell us a bit about the tasting, the consultation.
Most couples kind of make the initial contact via email or via Instagram, Facebook, or we've met them personally at one of your experience events or other kind of wedding fairs and things. So people initially they get in touch with us. Sometimes they know exactly what they want, and they just send a picture through and say, are you available on this date? Can you do it? And but most people don't have a clear idea of what they want in the very early stages. So we always invite them to come for a consultation. They come along to our studio. We usually spend about an hour with people, and they taste cake samples. It's all very relaxed and good fun, and everybody always enjoys it. And we just go through everything really, sort of advice about the size of cake that's going to be the best one for the number of guests. Just go through what their vision is for their wedding, and then we can come up with a unique design for them. So at the moment, we haven't been doing the face-to-face consultations. We've been doing virtual ones, and it's worked really well. We've been able to post out cake samples.
That's a little goodie box.
Well, people love to get a box of cake samples, so it's just something nice, isn't it, really? And I just think it's important to present it nicely, and so it feels special. It's not just kind of a lump of cake. But from the 6th of July, I'm actually starting again doing the consultations at the studio. I can still do the postal samples and do the virtual consultations, because some people still aren't comfortable about getting out and about yet, are they? Only people are shielding and things. So so they've got the option of either.
Yeah, and that's really good to know as well, actually, because I've obviously spoken to a couple of clients that are obviously planning their wedding, and they're feeling a bit stuck with planning because they feel like everything's shut. But actually, there's obviously, like as I explained to them, there's a number of suppliers that have adapted, and actually we can, still work on wedding plans. So it's great. It's great to know that, like you say, who doesn't enjoy receiving a little box of cake samples through the post? Yeah.
I think it might be kind of the way forward a little bit as well, because obviously people travel quite a distance to, when they book the venue, then, a lot of people aren't local people. In fact, the vast majority of our clients aren't local to us. So they're traveling quite a way. So it's quite nice for some people who say they're living in the south or somewhere, and they're getting married at Heaton House Farm. We can actually do all the initial discussions via by FaceTime or WhatsApp or something, and then when they're up here and doing the rounds of some of their other suppliers, we can actually arrange to have a face-to-face meeting then. So it is quite a good way of actually getting the basics done, really getting the groundwork done.
Yeah, and then obviously at your studio as well, you have lots of different cakes. Obviously I can see a few there behind you. Obviously, a good range at the experience event as well. So I suppose it's good for the couple to actually see the range that you do, and that can also probably help the design process as well a bit, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people come in, and actually sometimes people come in and they have an idea of what they're looking for. Then they start looking at display cakes, and they suddenly get, oh, I really like the sparkle effect on that, or I really like the wood effect on that. And then quite often ideas will change. So, and that's the whole point of having a consultation, that they can mix and match. They can, we can take a bit from that cake, a bit from that cake, and just really make a unique cake for them. And I always call it's a bit like build a cake, because we get the dummy cakes out and we play with them and we look at the different configurations of sizes and shapes so that people can visualize it. Because for me, as a cake designer, I can visualize it, but actually for clients who've never gone through this process before, when we're just looking at something, I'm drawing sketches and doing things, it's quite hard for them sometimes to actually visualize it. So by actually building it up and playing with dummies, and we can, add some sugar flowers to it and just give them, and then I will sketch it out as well, so that they can actually see what it is that we're talking about, really. And people find that really useful.
Yeah. And what about things like if a bride's got like a Pinterest board, or perhaps some stationery, or bridesmaids' dresses, colour swatches? Can they bring those along as well?
Yeah, I always recommend to couples before they come that if they've got anything already, so they've got to save the date, or if they've got any other wedding stationery already done, they've got any material swatches, like say Pinterest boards, any mood boards, to bring those with them, because it does really help with the design process. Even if they're just just very fresh ideas at the moment, it just helps to get it all together, and we can just look at things. And so it's not just about me saying, oh, I think you should have this cake. It is a very much involving them in it so that they get the cake that they want.
Absolutely. And how does the flavours work? Because I mean, I personally wouldn't know where to start with flavours, because I've tasted most of your flavours and I loved all of them, so I wouldn't know where to start. But how would you sort of advise a couple which flavours to pick?
I always, but when they do a tasting, they'll get a selection of usually about six different flavours. But I usually say to people that it's always best to have at least one of the tiers as what I call a crowd pleaser. So something, like, I don't know, a Victoria sponge, a lemon sponge, raspberry and white chocolate, something like that, that everybody's going to like. To have that for at least one of the tiers, and then to have another tier, usually the smallest one, in their favourite flavour, and then they can always ask for that not to actually be served at the wedding, and to keep that, and so they can use it for the next few days with family and friends. And couples love that idea, because it's just something nice for them to enjoy after the wedding, in the kind of coming down a bit from all that excitement. And on their wedding day, quite often it just goes in a flash, and they can't remember the cake, tasting the cake, or they don't have time to even have a piece of cake. So it's just really nice for them to have some to enjoy later.
Absolutely, and we check with our couples as well to see like what if they want to save a part or different things like that. And quite often now, most people are sort of saying, "Oh, we want a little slice from each tier," because they're generally quite a few different flavors within a cake as well. So it doesn't all have to be one flavor, does it?
No, that's right. Absolutely no. And people still ask me, does it have to be fruitcake? No, it doesn't. It's just people think, to have all that. But I mean, some people really do still love a fruitcake, or it might be that I always kind of use a scenario that it might be grandma who's paying for the cake and she particularly likes fruitcake. So in that case, they think, oh, well, we'll have one tier that's fruitcake. So, and of course, a fruitcake will keep. It will last, at least a year, a couple of years. So as long as it's stored properly. So again, sometimes people want to keep it for a christening cake, or they want to keep it and have it at Christmas or something. So there's so many different options. It's people think choosing their cake is going to be an easy thing to do, and actually there's a lot involved and just so many variables in it. But it's usually a really enjoyable process.
I was going to say, I can assure it might be one of the toughest ones, but I can imagine it's probably one of the most rewarding as well, and definitely the yummiest, I'm sure. So just to remind to everybody, obviously this is a live Q&A, so obviously Linda is here and live tonight. So if you've got any questions, please pop them below in the little comment box, and we'll obviously get round to answering them right at the end. It's also the 7th week. We've been doing these obviously for a little while now, so if you've been enjoying them, or perhaps it's the first time you've tuned in, or perhaps you're a future bride, let us know that you're watching. So just give us a little hello, or pop a little comment in the box below, or tell us that you're looking forward to your wedding or whatever. Just let us know that you're here and you're listening tonight. That would be great. All right.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's always good to know people are watching. So what's your booking process? So obviously people have come either to your studio or they've enjoyed your cake tasting box. What's the booking process?
Some people like to, just because I do get really booked up early, some people just like to pay a deposit and reserve the date, and then we'll deal with all the design and the flavours later. But the vast majority of people do like to come and meet me first and taste some cake. And there's never any pressure. We don't do a hard sell or anything. It's just kind of a really relaxed, enjoyable thing. And then at the end of a consultation, I would then do a detailed quotation for them. And then I usually email that to them afterwards. Sometimes I can do it there and then, but generally speaking, it takes a little bit of while to, a bit of time to put quotations together because of all the details and because every cake is different. So I'll email that to them, and then if they want to go ahead and book, they pay the deposit, which is just £100, and then they pay the balance 6 weeks before the wedding date. And then if we haven't finalised flavours at that point, we can do that at a later stage. Or sometimes if they're booking a cake, 12 months in advance, they're not even sure of the actual colours for the wedding, or colours things change, and that's happened so often that people have said, oh, we're having blush and such colour and we want those colour flowers, and then they get in touch with me 6 months before or something and say, oh, actually no, it's all changed now, we're having navy and something else. But that's quite easy to change colours. It doesn't, when you're actually designing the cake, the colour doesn't really matter too much. Then it's getting the actual design, and then we can add those details later on.
Yeah, and I bet as well, like the complexity of the design and the size of the cake, also affects the price a bit as well.
Yeah. So sometimes that's it. The numbers change for the wedding, so sometimes they want to add a bit more cake. They want another tier, or it's suddenly gone from a big wedding to a more intimate wedding, and they want to have a smaller cake. So I usually find it's the more that they want more cake, not less. So
that's normally the way it goes. So how far in advance would you recommend somebody to look at booking the cake? And limit the amount that you do on one day. So for example, if you're already booked for like the 11th of August, is that done for that day?
I mean, I usually say to be looking at booking about 12 months beforehand, but summer dates do get booked up really, really quickly. And because everything's made from scratch, it's not as though we have them in a cupboard and we can just kind of pull them out. We can't make them 3 weeks before and just kind of pull them out. They're all made on the few days on the run up to the wedding. So if I had a booking, as for example, like you said, the 11th of August, I can take more than one booking, but it will depend kind of where it is and the logistics of doing the delivery. The most wedding cakes I will do in a week are 3, and that's usually spread out over a few days. They're just so time consuming to make. There's so much time goes into them. A lot of people don't realise how much time it takes. So, like I say, it's not as though they're just on the shelf and we just kind of trundle them out. So that's why I do limit it to 3, so that I can give that the care and attention that they deserve, really, so that you can get a flawless finish, everything just right. I don't want to be in a bad panic rushing trying to get things done, and things have got to be right.
And how does it work as well? Because obviously some couples have a small amount of guests, but perhaps want a larger cake. Could you do like fake cake tiers?
Yeah, we can do. Yes, a lot of people like to have a taller cake, a more impressive cake, but they may, have smaller numbers of guests. And yes, we can certainly add false tiers, or dummy cakes they're called, to kind of pad it out a bit, give it a bit of extra height. The only thing is with them that they don't actually reduce the overall cost very much. Some people think, it's going to be, I'll have a 5-tier cake with two false tiers in there, but it's actually still a 5-tier cake, and that's still got to be decorated, and you're paying for all the decoration on it as well. So it will be slightly cheaper, but it doesn't bring the cost down as much as sometimes people think. But we discuss all that at consultations anyway, and just sort of see what people want. But I think, especially at Heaton House Farm, because it's quite a big space in Steele's barn, that a lot of people do like something, kind of a little bit more impressive, really, just because it fills the space more. A small cake can look, when I say small cake, I mean less than 3 tiers, that can look a little bit lost. So, but obviously, it's entirely up to the couple and what they want. Sometimes what people will do as well is have, say, a 2-tier cake or a 3-tier cake, but have other things with it, so make it like a dessert table, so they can have things like some mini cakes, some brownie bites, some cake pops, macarons, and they can do it as a dessert table, and that's kind of quite a trend really at the moment.
Makes a feature out of it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and it just, people can kind of pick and mix a little bit as to what they like, and it's quite a popular idea.
Now, obviously, we've seen a couple of photos, obviously, of different decoration ideas, and one of them is the sugar flowers, which you are actually renowned for, and you even do classes teaching people.
I do.
You are very, very good at sugar flowers. In fact, we often wander in and we just can't. We have to get really, really close to actually see what the difference is. So, I mean, those just look incredible. So, are you happy for a florist to provide perhaps fresh flowers if people want to use fresh flowers, or do you prefer to use sugar flowers?
I don't mind. I mean, I absolutely love sugar flowers. I've got a real passion for them, and I just think they're something very special on a wedding cake. They're quite a luxury item, and they're just something that probably people wouldn't have at any other time, really. So just very special, and also couples can keep them almost indefinitely if they're stored properly. And a lot of couples really like that idea that they've got a keepsake from their wedding cake. But fresh flowers are absolutely beautiful. I love fresh flowers, and they obviously will get a perfect match then with the flowers that they're having at the reception. So it's not a problem to use fresh flowers. What would happen is that I would liaise with the florist. We'd make sure that the florist is there when I'm there. I would be handed over some fresh flowers, and then I would actually prepare them in a food, so that they can be attached to the cake in a food safe way, because that's really important, because a lot of flowers are either toxic or irritants and things, even things like gypsophilia, which you see all the time on wedding cakes. You've got to be really careful with it. And also the flower stems will have been in like buckets of water, so they've all got to be kind of cut back, taped, put in little plastic picks, they're called, and inserted into the cake that way. So it can take quite a while actually arranging the fresh flowers on the cake, but they always do look really impressive and just so kind of a natural, aren't they? They just look lovely. So I don't mind either way. It's what again, it's a couple's personal choice, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's good to know that we've got options though.
Yeah. That's things that with weddings now, it doesn't matter what it is, isn't it? There's so much choice for everything. And it's, in fact, I mean, when I got married in the dark ages, many years ago, there was no choice. You had fruit cake and it was all royal ice. And you just went to a local bakery and you kind of flipped through a little kind of brochure, and there was probably about 4 or 5 to choose from. You picked one and that was it, really. There was no kind of discussion about it, really. So now it's just so nice that people can have something that's really, really special to them.
And what sort of flavours do you provide? Because I know you do an awful lot, but what's your sort of most popular ones, or ones that you're famous for?
Probably the most popular ones are raspberry and white chocolate, which is a crowd pleaser and always nice and quite weddingy and quite summery. Lemon is always popular, and a very kind of classic one as well. For winter weddings, I'm finding that ginger and treacle's quite popular as well. It's quite nice, a bit more spicy. It's kind of a warmer flavour. Chocolate Guinness cake with Baileys and white chocolate is very popular with the grooms for some reason. When they come for the tasting, they all absolutely love it. And it's a really rich chocolate cake that cuts very nicely and keeps well. So there's some left after the wedding that would probably keep for at least a week afterwards. So that's a popular choice. But we can pretty much make anything. If they don't see it on our menu and they ask us about it, I can pretty much do whatever. But yeah, things like red velvet's still very popular as well. It was a trend quite a few years ago. I think it was it Sex in the City, I think, that kind of started all that, the programme Sex in the City. I'm going back a bit now.
I don't watch too much TV, I'm afraid. So
but it was they were kind of into this red velvet cake, and so it was American, based in New York, and so it started from that. And then it did become very popular here, but I wouldn't say I've not been asked for it as much lately, actually. So salted caramel, that's really popular.
Yes. And what about the style of cakes as well? What's kind of like coming through as the next trend for actual design-wise as well?
Well, your naked and semi-naked cakes have been really big over the last few years, but for quite a few years really now. So that trend is kind of tend to fade a bit now, I think. It's still look lovely and look really nice in the right setting, and you can make them as fancy or as plain as you like. But I think I'm finding now that more couples are wanting a fully iced cake, and the trends are really for tall tiers, clean lines, sharp edges. Textures are very big at the moment as well, so things like textured stone effects, textured wood effects, just to kind of take away from the plainness of the cake. And they look really, really good, and they're quite contemporary. And also the addition of square tiers now, seems to have gone full cycle. You've not seen really square cakes for quite a long time, but they're starting to come back in now. It's nice that things change, but I still think that most couples want something fairly classic and timeless. They just want, but still with a contemporary feel to it, but something that will stand the test of time when they look back at the photos in 10 years' time or whatever. So yes, that photograph there's got the square tier on it and the textured stone, which is, it's kind of quite contemporary really, but still looks classic.
It does. It looks absolutely beautiful, and it tastes even better as well. I can personally vouch for that.
Thank you.
Just a little reminder to everybody that's watching, if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them for Linda. We are going to be doing a live Q&A at the end. So I do hope we have got some questions for you, Linda, and to answer them whilst we are live on air. So, but moving on, so obviously one thing that's coming through and is increasing quite a bit is people's dietary requirements. So obviously, do you offer that facility? Would you suggest a separate cake? Would you include it in with your cake? How does that work?
Yeah, we can cater for most dietary requirements. So we can do gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan. If people have a nut allergy and are particularly concerned about that, we can cater for that, and we're very, very aware of allergies. We usually recommend to have one that's like a special cake like that with special dietary requirements as a separate cake, just so there isn't any cross-contamination when the cake's being cut. If that's completely separate, it is much better. unless somebody wants, so say it was a vegan cake, they might want the whole cake vegan, and that's absolutely fine. And what we can do as well, if it's just maybe one person who's, say, celiac or something like that, and they want gluten-free, we could just do a couple of some cupcakes just to kind of supplement the big cake, so that person isn't left out. But sometimes couples don't want a complete tier that's dairy-free or egg-free or whatever it is. So we can, accommodate that by just doing something small and just a tiny cake or some cupcakes to go with it. And it, but sometimes, well, these days, so many people have got food intolerances, haven't they, really, that it's a shame if they don't get any cake. So so we do our best to cater for those as well.
I was going to say, now it's it's so normal as such, isn't it? Like, we have to cater for such a variety. Most weddings now, so obviously a lot of people ask the question, but it's the normal for us now.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah.
So obviously we just saw quite a beautiful looking cake hoop on that one. Have you got cake stands or risers or hoops or what, to hire out for couples as well, or any other kind of dressing items?
Yeah, we do. We have quite a range of cake stands, log risers, the hoop that you might have that's on that photograph there, the hoop stand, that's really popular at the moment. And we do it in a hexagon as well, which is quite nice for your mind of kind of more geometric cakes, which have been quite trendy. So we hire those out, and we always kind of try and stress to couples to try and make a bit of a display of your cake as well. It's so nice if it's really nicely displayed and there's a bit of thought gone into it, and it's not just kind of lost on the table, really. So even just having a few tea lights around it or whatever. But most venue dressers are really good now at actually doing something with the cake table as well. And I know at Heaton House Farm, your kind of standard setup for cake is always so lovely anyway. So it's not as though they need to to do a lot. It's just something just to make a bit of a feature of it. But certainly the hoop and the hexagon really frame the cake and just make it, and they can have it done in what. So what we would do with that is we would come along with the hoop bare or naked or whatever you want to call it, undressed, and that's it. And then the florist or venue dresser would then dress the hoop to match in with the rest of the decor. And it just works really nicely. But some people like a very slim pedestal cake stand. We've got one like a chandelier. Depends on the style of the cake. But it's nice to be able to have the option to to have different ways and to display it just nicely, really.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got. I think it's great to have so many options to suit the individual cake design as well. Definitely.
Well, yeah, because that's it. Because not every and a cake always looks better on a stand. If it's just flat on a table, it just doesn't look anything really. You just need to kind of elevate it and just give it needs to shine, doesn't it? It needs to kind of, people have invested a lot into their wedding cake, and you don't want it kind of just shoved in a corner and forgotten about. It needs to be displayed nicely and to be made a feature of, and it's going to be in your photographs, and it's just so nice when it is all beautifully displayed.
And I think as well, like the first dance is a feature of a wedding day, your speeches are a feature, obviously your civil ceremony, etc. There's lots of features throughout a wedding day, and the cake cutting is a big part of that as well.
Yeah, it's kind of part of your decor, isn't it? During the day, it's there in the room the whole time. So it's nice.
Yeah, so obviously we've done the cake tasting, a couple's booked you. Now, what actually happens on the day? Do the couple have to come and pick up their cake from your studio, or do you deliver?
Yeah, we'd rather they didn't come and collect it, to be honest. And actually, as a couple, who wants to be coming collecting their own wedding cake on like the day before or the morning of the wedding? Everybody's far too busy, and it's really stressful delivering a wedding cake as well, unless you know what you're doing. So even people collecting a single tier celebration cake panic about it because how am I going to put this in the car and who's going? So nobody wants the responsibility of it. So we always deliver to Heaton House Farm, and we're usually there late morning. We set up when there's usually other suppliers there at the same time, and we make sure that everything's all tickety-boo and everything's all just right, that there's no wobbles and everything. I always take, if it's sugar flowers things, I always take spare ones just in case something happened during the delivery. Touch wood, it hasn't, but I always do take some spare ones. I come with a little a little repair kit.
Yeah.
Some cakes can be delivered fully assembled, so they were like, it's like a 3-tier that can be delivered fully assembled, but quite often if they're larger cakes they do need to be assembled on site, so we might bring in 2 halves and put together on site. But yeah, we do all that and make sure, so when the couple see the cake, it's all there, all looking in its glory, really.
Yeah, and I think as well there's actually a story about this cake which we'll come into in a little while, but because it's quite fascinating. But we find as well, like a lot of couples say, oh, my aunt's offered to, she's a good baker and she's offered to make our wedding cake. And 9 times out of 10, it's brilliant, it's absolutely perfect, and it's lovely to have someone in their family making it for them. But I think there's a real challenge between baking a lemon drizzle or something on a Sunday as opposed to making a wedding cake, because you've got the structure, the weight,
yeah,
the you've got so many different variables that could potentially go a little bit wrong. And we have had to rescue a couple of cakes, but obviously nobody knows which ones, and they were never found out.
I know, I do hear some horror stories and really, and it's if you've got Auntie Mary or somebody can make a good cake and they can do it, but you do need to have, it is a big step up from just baking from friends and to actually doing a wedding cake and making it. It's got to stand there all day, so it's got to have this kind of internal structure in it. It's a bit like scaffolding inside, when you can hold it all together, and you have to know what you're doing, and because you don't want the whole thing collapsing during the wedding. Just isn't. We do actually get people coming to us fairly last minute asking, oh, is there any chance, can you fit us in, can we do this, because so and so was making, my friend was making my wedding cake, or a relative was making, and basically they've kind of really got too stressed with it and just kind of thought, I can't do it, and then just said, I really can't do this, and so then they're looking for a professional cake maker last minute. And sometimes we can help and sometimes we can't, it's just, that's kind of the risk that they take. But yeah, it's and then we also, another thing we get asked as well is, well, if we've got grandma wants to make the fruit cake for the thing, for one of the tiers, can you, if she makes the cake and we bring it to you, can you decorate it? Well, the answer is no, we can't, because our insurance wouldn't cover us for that. We've no idea where that cake's been before. It might be a beautiful cake, she might be a wonderful baker, and it's a family recipe, etc. But we can't decorate it because we just don't know where it's been and how. So we're just not covered by insurance for that. So if they wanted to do that, what I would suggest is that they actually have that as a separate little cake. If they want to, if a family member particularly wants to be involved, or mum wants to make a cake or something, just have it as a separate little standalone cake, at the side, and that's fine, isn't it? I just think but we can't do it. So sorry.
That's a great idea, actually, about having it as a separate cake, because you do sometimes, you've got extra evening guests, or you can cut up for them.
Yeah.
As well, obviously, food safety requirements now that we need to obviously adhere to, it's obviously getting stricter and stricter. So I think that's important.
That's right. Yeah.
So if we can just get that photo back that I just mentioned briefly, I love this story, and I think it really says a lot about you guys and how much you love weddings and want them to happen. So if we get the cake back up, I think Olivia's just in front of it there. I think I've thrown her by asking her to bring it back. Here we go. There we go. So this is a little bit of a story now. I don't know if people picked up on where you were based earlier, but you are actually based at Whaley Bridge. That's your studio. Do you want to run us through this story? Bring back some memories?
I don't know what people may have forgotten now, but almost 12 months ago, I think it was the 2nd of August, we were in a terrible situation in Whaley Bridge, where we have a reservoir and a dam right in the centre of the village, and the dam was just giving way, basically, and it looked as though the whole dam wall was going to go, and that the village was just going to be wiped out, basically. It would have been like a tsunami, basically. It would have been catastrophic. People were talking about floods and things. It wouldn't have been floods. It would have literally wiped the village out. And we're based probably about 500 yards from the dam. So we were at very, very short notice. We were evacuated from our business premises and also our home because we live in Weybridge as well. And the cake that was in the picture then was due to be delivered to Heaton House the day after. And it was 99% finished. I just had to add some sugar flowers to it. And actually that day it was sort of coming up for lunchtime, and I was thinking, oh, I'm really on top of this today. Everything's fine. It's all going really well. No stresses. It was just, everything was just, I thought, oh, actually, I might actually get to finish on time today, as rather than working late. And then this whole thing with the damp happened. And at that stage, we weren't sure really how serious it was. And then obviously it did. We got, we realised that once we got evacuated from home as well, we realised how serious it was. So it was very touch and go as to how I was going to get the cake to the couple at Heaton House Farm on the following morning. And the couple were absolutely lovely about it and said, please don't take any risks. Don't do anything that's going to put yourself in danger, because basically there was a cordon around everywhere and you weren't allowed through the police cordon. Anyway, the morning of the wedding, I actually just put something on Facebook saying, please, can anybody help me rescue this cake from our studio? I just need 5 minutes just to get in and grab the cake and my kit, and then I can get off. And it just got shared on Facebook, and Derbyshire Police picked up on it, and they messaged me and said, give us some more information and the exact location. We'll see what we can do for you. Anyway, long story short, they did, and they let me through the cordon, and the policeman came with me, and then we got the cake out, and we got it to Heaton House, and you kind of let me use your kitchen to kind of finish putting it together. So it was the most stressful delivery. Well, not the delivery. It was it was before that. It was really. And it was just because I think the fact that it was there all ready to, kind of ready to go. It wasn't, if it had only been half made, I would have just thought, well, there's just no way I can do it. But because it was, and the couple was so lovely, and you want to do your best for them. And the fact that they've been so lovely and said, oh, don't worry about it, don't worry. It makes you want to do it even more, doesn't it? So they were, I think they were quite shocked in a way when we actually got there with it. And in fact, when I was in your kitchen, I remember the bride came in her, she'd been having her hair and makeup on, and she was still there in a little dressing gown and everything. She came into the kitchen to kind of have a look at it and gave me a big hug, and it was all, and they were so thrilled to get it. So that is definitely one that sticks in my mind. So yeah. So
I think that really shows, obviously, like your complete and utter dedication just to making sure that it's delivered and it's perfect.
Yeah. I actually think most wedding suppliers, just, you're in the industry because you love it and you have that connection with your couples and you want to do your very best for them. So you will go the extra mile to kind of do things. And, when it's wedding season, you'll know as well, everybody works really long hours. You just kind of, sometimes you're working through the night just to kind of get things done and to make sure that people get whatever it is that they've ordered. And it's just kind of part of the business, really. But it is rewarding when everything goes right. Everybody absolutely loves it. It's a nice feeling.
And I think obviously we were trying to work with you as well, figure out how to get the.
Yeah, I know, that's right. Yeah, I was in touch with you. I think I spoke to Joe. I think that evening before, and we were kind of trying to work out how what we could do, and you because we've been evacuated, you kindly offers us accommodation as well, at your place. I'm thinking, but we moved in with our daughter for a few days, but it was
so hard to get the cake here. We were trying, and I don't think there's many cakes that can say they've been blued and hued to get to a wedding.
You could have got the ingredients. I could have baked it in your kitchen, you see, couldn't I?
Yeah, but it is what it is, and it happened, and it was absolutely perfect.
I know. But all's well that ends well. It was okay in the end. So
I think we're just going to do one last question, Linda, if that's all right. Because then we've got questions from couples or whoever out there. So if this is the final warning now for live Q&A, if you have questions, get it typed into that comment box and we'll be able to ask it in a short while. But Linda, do you offer anything else that couples can purchase? So, for example, like favours?
Yeah. Yeah, we do favours as well. So we usually touch on this when people have a consultation. I quite often find that at the consultation stage, they're maybe not thinking of favours that much at that stage. I find it tends to be a little bit further down the line. But I show them what I can do. So we do macarons, which can come in like little presentation boxes. They're really popular and they just look pretty, and it's really nice. We do decorated biscuits as well. One really nice idea for those is to have them with the guests' names on them, so it doubles up as a place name setting and a favour at the same time. So a lot of people like that idea. Sometimes people want cupcakes or mini cupcakes, and we also do little mini cake jars as well, which look quite sweet actually. Just a tiny little jar that's got cake in it, and it comes with a little spoon, and so they've been really popular actually. So yes, so there's a variety of things that we can do.
Yeah, and that's obviously on your. I've obviously seen that on your website, your Facebook page, and
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Check out those pages if you're interested. So if you're ready, Linda, I think we are going to go to live Q&A. Oh, there we go. Right, hello. We are having a 2-tier cake, and we're struggling to find a good design we're in love with. Have you got any recommendations for styles with 2-tier cakes?
Right. I think it depends on the overall look for the wedding, really. I mean, there's lots of things you can do, from the semi-naked ones to things. And I tell you what does look really, if you've got a 2-tier and you want to actually elevate it a little bit, just by putting a 2-tier on a nice cake stand will just give it that little bit more impact. A 2-tier can look really nice in the cake hoop as well, because you can put it on a stand within the hoop and it fills that space up and makes it look a lot more impressive. But in terms of the actual design, it's difficult to say really, because it just depends on the look for the wedding, really, whether it's a rustic look or whether it's a kind of a glamorous look, or any design can be scaled down to to a 2-tier. You can have a blingy cake, or you can have something very floral. So yeah, it's difficult to say without knowing what they're looking for. But I would definitely say, if you're having a 2-tier, have it on a really nice stand, or frame it with something like a hoop or something, just so that it makes it look, makes it look more really, so it has a bit of impact.
Yeah, I would also suggest as well, for me, like, I obviously am a big lover of Pinterest, and that's where I get a lot of inspiration, designs, trends.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah,
as well. So have a little search for some hashtags on there. I think will be, and like you say, obviously whatever you do for a 3-tier can be made.
Yeah, you scale it down. I mean, obviously, it is going to be smaller, but it just depends. And I think if you're having a 2-tier as well, sometimes I think don't make it over fussy, because there's not enough room for lots of things on it. So it's better to kind of keep it simple, really.
Less is more.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Okay, I think we have got another question. Right. Hello, Kaylee. Hi, I'm not getting married at Heaton House until February 2022. Well, that's not a problem. So it's a little while off yet. When would be best to get in touch with yourselves to get a consultation?
I would say now, because yeah, well, my 2022 diary is open. I've already got lots of bookings in for 2022. It's just that it's with the postponements from this year, that people aren't just postponing to 2021, but they're also postponing to 2022 because they've not been able to get the dates that they wanted, or for all kinds of reasons. Some people have gone to 2022. So it's kind of never too early, really, to start that initial discussion and just get some ideas and get some pricing ideas, and then just take it on from there. February obviously isn't as busy as the summer months, but it's certainly worth starting the process now, really.
Yeah, even if you start even just having a little look or following you on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm happy for that. If people just making initial inquiries, they just want some pricing advice, that's fine. It doesn't have to be the full-blown consultation at this stage. And because some people, often when the people starting their wedding planning process, it's a bit overwhelming, isn't it, really? They're trying to get all the different suppliers sorted, and they don't know how much. Yeah, they don't know how much things cost. So that's, I quite understand that. If they just want to kind of get an idea of price, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And hopefully we have got another question, I think.
Oh gosh, I'm popular tonight.
Sorry, I think I perhaps jumped the gun there. I'm not sure. Let me just see if Linda. Here we go. Right. Chelsea asks, what is the most tiers in a wedding cake you have ever made? Ooh.
Hi, Chelsea.
The other week.
7 tiers is most that I've done. 7, not 11, 7.
That's still a lot. That's crazy.
It's a lot. They weren't all real cake. There were some false tiers in there as well. But again, you see, some people just want a big cake. You know, you have brides who just got this, you know, since being a little girl, they've had this, you know, dream of having a big wedding cake, fairy tale wedding, all the rest of it. And that's great if people, you know, people want that. That's nice. And but you need a big space. A 7 tier would look great at Heaton House because you've got the space for it. You've got the height, you know.
We have. We can get away with it. We can get away with crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much, Linda. I think that brings us on to the end of our live Q&A. Thank you so much for taking part. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hope you enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think my nerves have got to me a bit, but never mind.
You've done a great job. So I'm sure people have definitely been helped with any cake advice, and there's been lots of little hints and tips throughout, which is great. So
yeah, I mean, you know, I'm here. If anybody wants to get in touch, that's absolutely fine. You know, it's never any pressure.
Website, Facebook, Instagram, you're on all of them. So,
yeah, we are. Pinterest as well now. I'm trying to get into Pinterest a bit more. So
head on to there whilst you're looking for some of the cake ideas then. So
yeah,
obviously next week we actually have Debbie from Cube Events, which is a venue dressing company. So if you are looking at different ways to style Heaton House for your wedding day, definitely tune in next week, next Monday at 7 p.m. So Linda, thank you very much, and to everyone that's watched, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thanks.